We had been discussing about the sculptures that has been seen in many Buddhist monuments and also uh, the sculptures which were related with the Vaishnava and the Shaiva branch of Brahminical religion. Today we will be talking about the contribution of Buddhist literature in understanding the sculpture of Sanchi. On looking the sculptures or the panel slabs at Sanchi, it becomes quite difficult to guess as to what context had been in the mind of the sculptures that it has been engraved. On the northern gateway of Sanchi Stupa, there are sculptures of thatched huts, trees, men, women, and children, which makes us assume that it depicts some rural scene. However, the historians suggest that it is a scene from Vesantra Jatak. So some of the sculptures are related with the Buddhist literary works, but there are also sculptures which are related with the Brahminical religion. For example, after examining the literary tradition, the scholar concluded that the sculpture at the gateway, which depicts a woman on the gateway of Sanchi Stupa, and is depicted in the way that the woman is swinging, holding on the branches of a tree at the edge of the gateway, that is concluded that the sculpture belongs to Shalbhanjika, which has been mentioned in the Sanskrit texts. So the sculptures that is there in the Sanchi Stupa, these are secular in nature. These do not only belong to the Buddhist religion and literary works. These are works belonging to Brahminical religion also, and it might be because those who accepted the Buddhist religion, they were earlier followers of the Brahminical religion, and the traditions of the Brahminical religion was deeply engraved in the minds of the people who ultimately adopted the Buddhist traditions. So these might be the case, but the sculptures at Sanchi are secular in nature. It do not only belongs to the Buddhist traditions. The historians are also of the view that the motifs or symbols depicted in the sculpture at Sanchi were also taken from the popular traditions or non-Buddhist traditions. Beautiful and lively figures of the animals have been depicted at Sanchi. Figures of elephants, horses, monkeys, and cattle have been depicted. Several scenes depicting which has been depicted at Sanchi are related to the stories of animals described in the Jataks. Some scholars believe that these animals were perhaps depicted in order to attract the visitors by lively scenes. So there are sculptures which relates to the Buddhist tradition and also that which relates to the Brahminical traditions. Of the figure and motif sculpture in the Sanchi Stupa, a figure of a woman surrounded by lotus and an elephant deserves special mention because the elephants have been depicted sprinkling water on the women as performing abhishek or abhishek. Some historians identify this sculpture with Maya, the mother of Buddha, whereas some others identify it with Gajalakshmi, the goddess of good fortune, which is related with the Brahminical religion. It is worth mentioning that Gajalakshmi, the popular goddess, is associated with elephants. Some scholars believe that perhaps the devotees, as I was telling you earlier, identified this sculpture. Perhaps these devotees were associated with the Brahminical religion, and finally this type of sculptures came up in the Sanchi Stupa. So basically we can say that the sculptures in the Sanchi Stupa are secular in nature, and it do not only relates to the Buddhist literature and religion. Continuing our discussion of the contribution of Buddhist literature in understanding the sculpture of Sanchi, we can also say that the hagiographies of Buddha also helps us significantly in understanding the Buddhist literature, Buddhist sculpture. The historians have succeeded in interpreting the Buddhist sculpture by examining the hagiographies of Buddha. The hagiographies clearly mention that the Buddha achieved enlightenment while meditating under a tree. The several early sculptures try to show the presence of Buddha through symbols, and these symbols have been sculptured at different places to symbolize different events of the life of Buddha. They did not show the Buddha in human form, but only by these symbols, which actually represents a, an important situation of Buddha's life that is depicted, and from that we can understand what actually the sculpture wanted to state to the common people. For example, this empty seat in the Buddhist sculpture symbolizes the meditation of Buddha. In the same way, the stoop became the symbol of representing the state of Mahaparinirvana. The wheel in the Buddhist sculpture was meant to represent the first sermon delivered by Buddha at Sarnath. Whereas we know that Buddha first gave his sermon in the Deer Park at Sarnath near Varanasi on Asar Purnima, and it is known as Dhammachak Parivartan in the Buddhist religion, or the setting in motion, the wheel of Dharma. That is also depicted with motifs or symbols which are interpreted literally by the Buddhist literary works. For example, the tree depicted in Buddhist sculpture does not stand simply for a tree. Its depiction symbolizes an event in the life of Buddha. So, with the help of different motifs and symbols, different events of important events of Buddha's life have been depicted in the sculptures, and that also helps us in understanding what the intention of the sculpture had been while making these beautiful sculptures in different Buddhist monuments.